So,
Okay.
so
It'll be 10 minutes. It'll be 10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes.
Just so you know, my battery is at 24%, but I will try to find a place to plug in right now.
All right. Well, 24% ain't that low.
Yeah.
So let's dive into this. My first question to you is, let's see if we can first let's see if we can untangle two concepts, and then I'll ask my first question. Concept one is a product of the mind, which is not real. That's concept one. And then a reality or truth of the matter, which is concept two. Would you agree with me that if I claimed that I was the king of France, that could be true in my head, but would you say that would be true in reality?
Yeah, obviously not.
Okay, what would make it not true in reality?
You don't have any of the defining necessary criteria that would be sufficient to make you the king of France.
That seems totally reasonable to me. And so, like, what are some of those characteristics that would make me the king of France? What would that entail?
I don't know. I assume that there's some kind of official paperwork involved.
Well, and probably I give orders and people follow the orders, and I'm in charge of the country and all of that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Now, if I were to make the claim that I was a female, would the fact of the matter reflect that I was a female?
Is there any biological information about you?
Yeah, available? I'm XY chromosome. I have gonads. I'm by all biological metrics a male. So if I claim that I was a female,
biological metrics, if by all biological metrics, then you're a male. Then if you say you're a female, then that would not be true.
Okay, so then I just have to ask this one question. If I claimed I was a woman and what woman meant was adult female, what would make that statement true?
What do you mean? What would make that statement true? Like,
what would make the statement true?
And woman was referring to female sex.
Yeah, it was referring to adult female. What would make that statement true?
Your primary sex characteristics matching those of female.
Okay, so as a male, if I say that I am a woman, by my definition, that would be a false statement, correct?
If you're defining woman as sex instead of gender, then yes.
Yes, okay. So gender, you agree with me, is a construction of the mind, right? Does not exist in material reality. It exists as a construction of the mind.
I'm not sure how long you've been listening to this conversation. We've been going on for a while, but I am a physicalist. I do think that there is a physical activity going on for most mental activities, thoughts, concepts, that kind of stuff.
Oh, sure. It did, but in the same way that if I said I was the king of France, you've already agreed with me that could not be true in material reality. So hang on, in my mind. I want to make sure we can agree on this quick point.
I think we can.
I want to make sure we can clarify. Okay.
Let me clarify. Your brain can generate the false identity that you're the king of France, and your brain can also generate your gender identity. All of us have.
Right. But what would make that? But what would make that true? What would make that true, though?
What would make it true? Your gender.
What would make the gender identity? If you say I'm a woman, right? If you say in reality you can in your mind be the king of France, which I don't disagree with, but in material reality you cannot be because it doesn't match the criteria for what the king of France is, then utilizing the same logic. Why is it that if I claim that my gender is X and I am the real X thing, why would that be true?
Yeah. No, I got what you're asking. So I think that you can be, if you make a statement, I'm male, I'm female, you're making a statement about your sex, that statement can be true or false. But if you're making a statement about your gender identity and you're not lying about it, you're genuinely saying the genuine product of your brain, I don't think that statement can be true or false, because it's like saying, well,
then how come the king of France? Then how come the king of then why can the King of France statement be true or false?
Because the King of France designation is not a social designation based on.
It's totally a social
identity.
designation based.
It's not.
Yes, it's a complete social designation based on identity. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Right. When you don't let me finish my sentence.
Okay, let him finish. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Bro, I didn't cut you off. I just clarified.
So
go ahead.
France simply because you declare that you are the King of France. That's not how that identity works. That identity has to be bestowed upon you by the proper authorities, right?
No, you can take it. No, you can take it. You can just take that identity.
Take
like
what?
you can just strong arm France and become the King of France. Like it doesn't have to be bestowed upon you. People can even disagree with you,
so
right? They can even say that you're not.
Come on, you're resorting to absurdity now. You're saying if you have
wait. Can you explain? Wait, why would that be absurd? We're talking about identity here.
Come on.
Come on, not an argument. No, I don't.
Hold on, BPF, hold on. Grayson, can you tell us how it's logically absurd, not just that you think it's weird?
Yeah, what's wrong with it?
Okay.
I don't understand.
Okay.
Seems like
Can you tell us how it's Can you tell us how it's logically? Can you tell us how it's logically absurd?
Let's not be pedantic. I'm being colloquial.
No, that's what absurd means in a debate. That's what. Okay, I'm just clarifying.
Hang on. We can move past it. Okay. The thing is that if we're talking about
my balls about every little one.
No problem. But if we're talking about the idea
what I
find
mind absurd about it. Why I think it's absurd is because we're talking about what makes you the King of France, and I'm saying it's not based on your own self-identity. And your comeback to that was like, well, sure, like if you feel like the King of France and you have an army of 6 million people at your disposal, you can make yourself the King of France. Sure, but again, what made you the King of France is not your self-identity. What made you the King of France was that you took it by conquest. So it is
that it was bestowed on you,
that
right?
Your own self-identity makes you the King of France. But it is
or
the
it was
case,
bestowed on.
and like,
hang on.
Definitionally,
bro, 1 point at a time.
One point at a time. 1 point.
Let's stay with this.
All right.
Okay. Is it so? If it's bestowed upon you, this means other people recognize you as this thing, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what happens?
Right people.
So what happens? Yeah. So what happens if those people?
Andrew, say that again. You cut out. Andrew, say it again.
Anyway, what happens? Yeah. What happens if people do not recognize you as being this thing? Are you that thing? Are you the King of France if people don't recognize you as the King of France, regardless of your self-identity of believing you're the King of France?
So it depends on the nature of the category in question. For the King of France, no. But for gender, yes. Just like for your favorite music or whatever.
What would be the distinction?
If I consider myself a fan of the band Gorillaz, but I've never been to their concerts, I've never bought their albums or whatever, but I consider myself a Gorillaz fan. And you say, well, like, you know, how can I know that you're really a Gorillaz fan if you don't have any receipts, you never bought any of their music or whatever? But it's an identity of mine. It's not that other people can tell me I'm not a Gorillaz fan. It's your own self-identity that is sufficient to categorize you as a fan of a certain musician or band.
Okay, fair enough. So what would make you a Gorillaz fan?
If I consider myself one, even if I listen to all their music or I don't. If I consider myself a Gorillaz fan, then I am.
Sure. So how would you consider somebody else to be a Gorillaz fan?
Basically, like, you could try to gatekeep it and say you're not a real Gorillaz fan if you haven't done X, Y, and Z, or you could just take them at their word if they tell you.
Yeah, but what would actually make them a Gorillaz fan is my question. Yeah, I mean, you're trying to convey something there definitionally with fan, right? So there's something entailed there. There's some activities or something that they must be doing. Like, for instance, if I said I was a fan,
I wouldn't even say so, because, like,
for example, like, does it even make sense if I were to say to you?
Let me just give one quick one. Andrew, you could give your example, but let me give one quick one first.
Yeah.
There could even be a fan that says, you know, I really hate Gorillaz music. You know, I really hate even listening to it, but I'm still a fan. I still am looking forward to what their next album could be. Like, you know, that you could even hate the music and still consider yourself a fan. And it would be valid.
So if I were to say that I was a Stephen King fan, but never read a single Stephen King book, never listened to a single thing he said, never watched a single movie, and somebody else called me a liar, would you agree with him?
I would say you're a weird fan, but if you're a Stephen King fan just based off vibes alone, that's valid, dude. Whatever. I wouldn't really care. I'm not gonna gatekeep you whether or not you're a fan.
Yeah, but what would make the person? What would make them the person calling them a liar wrong?
If the other person does consider themselves to be a fan of Stephen King.
Yeah. What would make them wrong?
Okay, so it sounds like you've just been basically defeated by analogy at this point.
What would make them wrong?
I just told you, if the other person doesn't identify as a fan of Stephen King, then they
No. That's not my question. My question was
that doesn't agree with your fucking
the person who calls them a liar. What makes them wrong?
Yeah. I'm sorry, you might have cut off at the end. You said the person
who calls them a liar. So if I'm a Stephen King fan, I read all the books, I watch all the movies, all this. Somebody else does none of that, calls themselves a Stephen King fan, I call them a liar. What makes my statement that they're a liar untrue?
The fact that the other person identifies as a Stephen King fan.
Okay, well then the fact that the other person identifies as the King of France.
Andrew, let me explain this. You said I was going to have time to explain. The criteria that is sufficient to categorize somebody as a fan of Stephen King is whether or not they identify as a fan of Stephen King. That's the only necessary criteria.
Why is that the only necessary criteria?
That's just definitionally what makes you a fan of something is whether.
No. Okay. Well, then show me the definition which states that.
All right, man. I'll go hunt down a dictionary for the word fan over here. 15%.
Well, I mean, what does fan convey? Doesn't it? Aren't you trying to equate some information there?
Sure, but as I already pointed out, you can even hate the music and still consider yourself to be a fan of them.
Yeah, but don't we falsify claims by if the claim doesn't reach the threshold for the criteria of the thing we're pointing to, then the claim is false. Yep. So if fan is indicating, stop, bro! I just let you go. Stop talking, bro.
Let him go, Grayson.
My turn. I just got done explaining this to you, but I'm going to do it again. So if that's the way that you falsify a claim, okay, if fan just means anybody who identifies as a fan, then how can fan mean anything? Because I can just identify as being a fan of whatever. And anybody can identify as, well, you can almost make any claim as just a form of self-ID, and then it becomes unfalsifiable. So, for instance, you could never say somebody was a fake Christian. You could never say that somebody was a fake Satan worshiper. How could you ever do that? It becomes circular.
Oh no! Oh, boo-hoo! I took away your ability to gatekeep other people's identities. Oh no!
No. You took away the ability for words to mean stuff.
Wait! Wait! I let you go here. It is arbitrary what people are fans of. Because people say fans of stupid stuff all the time. I'm a fan of mustard. I'm a fan of this door handle. Whatever. Like, yeah, that's all true. They can.
Yeah, but what are they conveying there?
But
they're conveying something there.
Yeah, it means that they probably like those things, but even if they dislike them, they can still consider them a fan.
Right, but how could you be a fan?
It's an arbitrary categorization.
Well, okay, then how could you be a fan of the taste of mustard if you've never tasted mustard?
I don't know. Maybe you could be a fan of how it's described.
You don't know? You don't know how you can be a fan of mustard if you've never tasted mustard.
13% battery left. Is this really how you spend the conversation?
Okay, Andrew, I want to...
an analogy, and you're asking me about mustard.
Grayson, hold on, let's go back to the question that I think is really important here. Is Andrew asked, how could you say the person who says, no, you're not a fan, how could they be lying, right? Because your distinction here is that there is no real distinction of a fan. So what is the answer again? How do you know? How could you say the person's lying when they say no, you're not a fan? How do you know they're wrong?
They are wrong if they say the other person's not a fan. They are wrong if the other person identifies as a fan.
Well, then you have just defeated your entire worldview, and this is what I was getting at, right? So your whole worldview is now destroyed because if all a sports fan is somebody who identifies as being one, that makes everybody a gatekeeper of what one is. So it's impossible to say one person's lying about the other one being a fan because their own definition of whatever it is has to be true. Therefore, if you say you're not a woman, then how can you be a fan of somebody who identifies as being a woman? Because their own definition of whatever it is has to be true. Therefore, if you say you're not a woman, then how can you be a fan of somebody who identifies as being a woman? Because their own definition of whatever it is has to be true. Therefore, if you say you're not a woman, then how can you be a fan of somebody who identifies as being a woman? Because their own definition of whatever it is has to be true. Therefore, if you say you're not a woman, then how can you be a fan of somebody who identifies as being a woman? Because their own definition of whatever it is has to be true. Therefore, if you say you're not a woman, then how can you be a fan of somebody who identifies as being a woman? Because their own definition of whatever it is has to be true. Therefore, if you say you're not a woman, then how can you be a fan of somebody who identifies as being a woman? Because their own definition of whatever it is has to be true. Therefore, based on my criteria of a woman, there's no fucking way for you to call me a liar.
We can take this one more thing, Grayson. I want to take this into another more immediate scenario. Let's say, because you say you're a male and you're a cis man, right, Grayson? So let's say there is a university that's offering scholarship to women.
Before you start that, can I respond to what Andrew said really quick?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, if all of us are making let me give you the argument. Let me give you the argument. I want to make sure
it's funny
that
how my
you get it
response
right.
to Andrew sounds an awful lot like Andrew. Like, isn't that weird?
I just want to make sure you get I just want to make sure you get it right. So I'm just going to repeat it real quick. If the identity of a fan is whatever they claim it is, you cannot call another fan a liar for saying you are not one, because, like you said, it is arbitrary. Correct?
You can still determine whether or not they're lying. There are other physiological, empirical tests about whether or not somebody's lying. Other factors that betray if somebody's telling the truth or not. You can tell if somebody's lying physiologically.
But lies are based on intent. If they mean it, if they mean you're not a fan, right? They mean that, then they're not lying. And you can't say that they're lying based on criteria. So what is actually wrong with them saying you're lying? What is wrong with that?
No, ultimately, I do think that, it's shitty to call people out as saying you're not a real fan if they say they are a fan. And I think that's
nice, but what makes them a lie? What makes it a lie?
I think that you shouldn't gatekeep if people are fans. I think that you shouldn't gatekeep people's own gender identity.
That's nice. What makes it a lie? What makes it a lie for one fan to tell another fan they're not a real fan? What makes that a lie?
Because what is the sufficient criteria to designate one as a fan, much similar to gender, is whether or not you identify as a fan.
Yeah, sure, but however you identify as a fan is going to have
over and over again.
Hang on, no, we're not. This is my turn.
Hold on,
my turn. It's my turn.
Hold on, Grayson.
It's my turn,
Grayson,
bro.
just engage. Let him
So
talk.
no, this is not correct, because whatever your identity is, self-identity of fans, going to have criteria. If somebody else doesn't meet that criteria, and you say it's arbitrary, so you can make up whatever criteria you want. If I say you're not a fan, how could I be lying? How?
Because the sufficient criteria is whether or not they identify as a fan. We're going in circles because you don't understand the points I'm making.
Well,
you want to ask your question, because now I'm at
that's totally
10% battery.
That's totally incoherent. How does your cell phone in 10 minutes lose 12% battery?
I just want to point out, Grayson.
I don't know, man, because I'm live streaming. I'm in the middle of nowhere, Idaho right now on a road trip.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure I got this clear. You can come up with whatever your definition of fan is, and you are that thing. However, telling somebody else that they're not that thing because they don't meet that definite criteria, you're lying about that. Can you even explain how that's coherent?
Yeah, I just did. I've explained
Do it again.
Like,
use small words.
A fan is a process of their own self-identity as one. So for you to say they're not when they identify as one would make you a liar. You should.
But you identifying as a fan has criteria.
Andrew, how about just generally you don't gatekeep people's identities? Okay, we can call.
Well, how about we do? Because words mean stuff. So moving back to this though. If I still don't understand. You got to explain it again.
You mean stuff, and sex and gender mean two different things.
If you say,
realize that.
One at a time, Grayson. Grayson.
Just over talking and spurting. So again, if I identify as a sports fan and because I self-ID as that thing, I am that thing, and my criteria for what makes you one is that you go and buy the fans' merch. If you say that you're a sports fan, but you don't buy the fans' merch, so I say you're not a sports fan, how in the world could I be wrong?
Because I consider myself a sports fan, and that's all that's
only the person who makes the ID claim is the person who's in the right. That's it?
Yep.
So the other criteria then. So there's no possible way you realize this. This is now you're in a logical contradiction. There's no possible way for you to ever make a claim based on self-ID that the other person is lying or is incorrect, even if your self-ID has the standards for what that thing is.
Because that's true. Because normal, healthy people don't go around telling other people that they are this and that, and don't go around dictating the identities of others. So you shouldn't do that. Those are all assertions. Those are just assertions.
So back to this though.
Okay.
If you self ID as a sports fan, and your claim is that what makes you a sports fan is that you collect memorabilia, and another person does not collect memorabilia, and you say, okay, you're a liar. How could you be wrong if it's based on your self ID? How?
Well, maybe to their definition, you're not a true fan, but they don't have
And
a
to
right
your
to
definition, they're
whether
not.
or not you're a fan.
So it's
Right,
arbitrary.
So neither one could be lying. So then therefore,
Grayson,
hang on. Let me finish this, and then I'm done. I'll hop the call. So then what we've determined here is that there's no way for you to tell me that I'm lying when I say that a person's not a fucking woman, you idiot. I just wanted to let you know that. And with that, I will dip out. Have a wonderful day, you stupid fuck.